Welcome back to another episode of A Record of My Father. Today we're going to be talking about the war machine, the military-industrial complex in the U.S. It's going a little bit up here. It's going a little bit up. It's kind of interesting too. What I think about most apparently that everybody was talking about how Joe Biden was a warmonger for defending Ukraine, and now we are defending Israel's rights to wiping Iran off the face of the planet. So I think that this is an interesting kind of talk about in the way that America is kind of going to support that little country in the West, or East.
I worry. I worry the most because when you think about the war machine, you think about where we're going. They're now proposing a $1.5 trillion budget, and now this is going to go to an agency that they don't audit the whole agency. They audit 12 parts of it, and like 9 parts of it have failed audits every time. They've never been able to audit. They don't know, and failing an audit typically would be a red sign that they don't know where the money's going. So it would seem odd that, if I gave you $100 and you said, "Hey, I'm going to invest this in stock," and then I hired an accountant to come in and audit your books, and then he comes in and he goes, "Well, he got the $100. We found it in his account, but then it got transferred somewhere. We don't know where it went." And then I'd be like, and then you come back and you say, I need 150 next year. I'm going to invest it. And I'm like, but you failed. Yeah, but I need more to make it more, to make a better investment, to make you safer. I'm going to invest it in security, right? I'm going to invest it in security because in essence, when you think about the Department of Defense, it's supposed to be, or the Department of War, whatever you want to call it, it's about creating a feeling of safety for Americans, right? I mean, when you think that's kind of the mindset. And
There's
I
a
go like
phrase, security theater, that
security.
exists
Yeah.
in the U.S. It was specifically in airports where with those full body scanners, man. I'd love to know what the contract deal on that. What is it? It's like say, what is the company? It's like SEI say so or something. I can't remember what it is, but it's crazy how many of those and how expensive they
It's
are.
not US either. It's not a US
No,
based company. It's international,
is it
you
really?
know.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. I remember and I was like, we keep offshoring this stuff. And it's like when you hear like what we do with the offshoring, and it's like, let's go back to the budget. I'm going to get crazy. I mean, some of the things that are happening because now we're at war, and you saw that the Pentagon, which got a $990 billion budget last year, uh, needs a special $4.5 billion payment because they ran out of Tomahawks. And you're thinking like, well, can't you just slide over some of that other money from the other pockets full of gold that you have instead of making us do this? Can't you make, one less F-35 jet, one less can you do that? Can you, you know? And it's just it bothers me that when you look at what we're doing and what we're spending, it's basically a mirror of what Russia did in the 80s when they collapsed because it was the Cold War. It was we were raising the military budget. They raised the military budget. They could not afford it. The world their economy collapsed, and then they needed a new person. They needed a detente, and some of the things they did is they walked away from Eastern Europe, and they did all sorts of things like that because they overspent. They put too much money on taking other people's shit. And if you look at what we're doing, that's what we're doing. We're not attacking people that have directly attacked us. We're attacking people that have attacked other people that we know. You know, we and then it's vague. It's really vague, and the purpose and the reasoning behind it. And there's there's not three or four different reasons that you can look at that are really clear as to why we're in this war today, why we did what we did in Venezuela, and what we are promising to do in Cuba. And who knows what else is going to be pulled out of the sleeve for us to go after and do, because they don't seem to have a very cohesive long-term plan about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Generally, you build a cohesive group of allies around these particular decisions to share the expense and to share the fear and the grief and all that kind of stuff. I mean, and we're in this thing and we're calling it the Israeli American war, and yet they're not going to put ground troops on. So if we got people dying and they don't, then I'm sort of like questioning whether, and it's like, well, they're being bombed. Well, they were fronting all the bombing, and when you hear it, you're like, no ground troops in a war, that you want us to go to war with these people we did, and your troops run away. We're fighting Lebanon. Well, why are you at war in Lebanon? I mean,
Well,
it seems
Americans
just,
have been dying already for-profit health care when we have been allowing citizens of Israel to have free health care, which is
yeah,
so
yeah,
funny. So,
yeah,
I mean, there's already Americans
yeah. We
dying
can
for
we can
Israel
we can go
in a
into
way.
all the
You
reasons
know.
that
No, but
other
I'm saying
countries.
you're saying that
Yeah.
Americans are
Oh, I
fighting a
agree.
war,
I
and I mean
agree.
we're fighting a war at home. I mean over this as
Yeah,
well.
we are. We're
It-
we're we're fighting in a war against the political structure here, that where the majority of the people think that we should not be funding, and we shouldn't have been funding the war in Gaza, which really wasn't a war; it was a one-sided slaughter. That we should have been doing that, and yet we did. And you're thinking like, well, 80% of the population says stop sending money, and your congressperson just goes mute every time you ask that question.
doesn't really
The
matter,
bigger
yeah.
the bigger question is water wet? And you're like, no, you sound like a bought hooker, you know? And I understand that everybody says that about all politicians, but it seems that now that it's really being shoved in our face how purchased the people are.
I think I
And
said
I
this about 2 years ago on the podcast. I wish they were
Mhm.
as good, or they were good at lying again. I wish it wasn't as so self-evident of
Yeah,
just
miss
the
that.
absolute screwing of the American people.
Yeah,
I
not
miss when it was more like smoke and mirrors, and you're like, maybe that conspiracy theory is true, and then no, it actually has been true, and I'm gonna tell you it's true, but you're not gonna be able to do anything about it.
and hiding it. Yeah, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And
They're
then
not
and
even
then
hiding it. Yeah.
I look at it, and back to the budget. We talked about some of the things that are crazy. The new 4.5 billion for Tomahawk missiles. That's one that's just nuts. They couldn't pay for it. Now here's the other thing: they're getting shot out of the air with $30,000 drones. So at what point do you say maybe we shouldn't build $30 million missiles that get shot out of the air with $30,000 drones? Maybe we should do something different. Maybe we should do this. I'm not sure that all my numbers are absolutely correct, but it's like a hundredth. They're just getting wiped out by things. We need to change the military as a whole. I believe. First off, the number one thing is, where's the money going? I cannot, and I don't know how anybody could give them any more money until we know where it's going, because this is just the it's a definition of stupid. You're giving people money and you don't know where it's going. How many people put money in a bank and then don't see their balance rise, and then they're okay with that, and then they do it again, and they do it again, and they do it again,
Well, it's because
and
these
they do it
politicians
again?
that are approving these things already have investments in these companies. I,
Yeah,
I have a found belief that it's purposeful that we've lost every war since Vietnam because it
yeah.
increases the
No, no,
stock
no, no.
price.
We won. We won.
Vietnam?
Bush won. Did when we attacked Qatar, we attacked Iraq in 88 or whatever, when Bush
Mm.
89, 91, whatever the hell it was. When he went in there, he had a very clear and defined mission that we will go to the Qataris border and we will stop and we will monitor it with our weaponry going forward to keep the Iraqis out. And we did just that, and it totally
Oh,
stabilized the
yeah.
oil price, everything. And it was a very clear mission. We could, and everybody was like, "You should have gone there and killed Saddam Hussein. You should have kept going." And it's like, well, but what happens when you unseat a government? You can't. There's no easy way to sway the opinion of 30 million people or 5 million people. I mean, we're it's a whole new game, and this is not going to be the same kind of thing that people have. They're just, Rumsfeld screaming, they'll be meeting us saying we're saving them. No, that's not going to happen. Didn't happen before, hasn't happened ever, hasn't happened, and didn't happen in Vietnam, didn't happen in Afghanistan, didn't happen. Some of them do. We leave our weapons behind for them to use, and they drop them on the ground and let the enemy take them. So we should never do that again. Biden did it again this last time, and they didn't. I don't even think the Afghan army touched them. I think they were changing their clothes as we were going to the airship. So sad. But you start to look at this and say, like, well, we always talk about us having the greatest military and the most expensive military. But what exactly? I mean, it gives you peace of mind, I guess, to have all this stuff. But I mean, we saw this jet, or you're seeing these Tomahawk missiles get shot out of the air with nothing. We have a jet program called the F-35, and it's huge. It's a 20-year program to build a stealth jet, the best jet ever. This is it. It goes out on missions in Iran and gets shot down. $1 trillion program, unshoot-downable. That's my new
Ooh, I
word.
like that. Yeah.
Unshoot-downable, and it gets shot down. And well, it's a lucky shot. No, 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 no. I would sue Lockheed if I was in the government right now, and I'd say, what the fuck? You did this. You said this would do this. It did not. It didn't work. The American taxpayer deserves a response to that. $1 trillion. I mean, I can understand if you stole my Snickers bar that you're and you took a bite out of it, but holy shit, this is wrong. And it's just wholesale robbery, And it started, I don't know when it started. It's happened over and over and over. I mean, I remember I had somebody in Iraq, and they said that they were shipping pallets of money to change people's opinions. Think about that. A pallet of money were American dollars, because that's what the currency, everybody loved the American dollar because they could use it, and that's a big thing. So they're handing that out to change the minds of people. And think about it, they would give people a guaranteed income in Iraq, but they wouldn't do it here. Think about that. That's just
Because a national minimum wage of $15, that would be wrong. That would be wrong.
They're giving away
and people could afford
billions,
groceries, and
billions
people
of
could be
dollars.
happy. That's
And
wrong.
what did we accomplish? We unseated a dictator. We have a whole unstable region. We increased the power of Iran to now, and it's like we had somebody that was against them, and we took their enemy out. And you think about that is, I mean, on paper it's dumb, and it's like when you look at Iran, like what we're doing now, it's dumb. It's just dumb. There's no we're very, 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 very clear that before we fired a single shot in this war, there was no uranium, none. We had wiped out all the stuff, had stopped. The president had said we had wiped it all out, yet we're going there because they have nuclear capabilities. No, they don't. They're lying. You're lying. You're lying. Why are you lying to us? Why do you want us to do this? This is a monetary thing. We were blowing what, $7-8 billion a day there?
Yeah.
Military equipment.
Within the first week, it was a astronomical sum.
And you
Well,
think to
I'll
yourself,
ask
like,
you too. Oh, well,
yeah,
here's this one thing. Ever since the Ayatollah, so-called, is dead, I don't know if he really
yeah,
is, but
mhm,
I had a lot of people that are Iranian. They said they couldn't express more happiness, you know.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a wide range of happiness, and it's kind of interesting because I don't think that that's why we did it. Like I don't
No,
think
but
I don't think that that's
if
why
you
we did
use
it.
if you
But it's
use
kind of like this
killing the
offshoot
leader,
thing.
if you use killing the leader as a barometer and how many people you would make happy, who would we kill today? There's one man we would kill that would make the whole world a happier place. Okay. So let's not use that as a barometer because, I mean, it would probably make billions of people happier.
Fair,
Okay.
fair.
Okay. So
Mhm.
let's not go there. And I'm not talking about Putin. Putin would certainly make hundreds of millions of people happier.
Why
It
can't
would
we use it
probably,
as a barometer?
well, because I don't think that that's the biggest one out there, but that's just my
That's
opinion.
fair.
Anyway, it's like it just seems like when you start to look at this, and we were talking about, we were talking about the war machine and the budget is like, we don't, there's no, we don't have financial oversight, which on anything in the world, everything we talk about always budgets this, that, and the other, and how we spend, and how we're going after the Somalis for spending inefficiently, or they're stealing something, and they're being investigated, or they were being investigated. Yet, one of those jets, 3% of that program is more than that, and it's like, well, really? What are we doing? I think the
It is
when
kind of
I look,
funny too, because you have the same thing going on in California right now about this hospice care that people are
yeah,
talking about and how it's been robbing the California state taxpayer
hmm
because you have all of these fake hospices that have accrued millions of dollars. But I mean,
hmm
you have like what, like a $3 trillion program.
are they being sued, or are they going after? Or, well, that's
Yeah,
the
I don't
whole
know.
thing is people used to always talk about Medicare fraud, right? Medicaid fraud. Well, if you look at the numbers, just the pure numbers, yes, there's fraud in Medicaid. Yes, it's a huge cash number, dollar number, but it's under 3% of the program. So if you look at it in that way, which is kind of the way you're supposed to look at how you're investigating things, unless you want to only look at the size or the amount of the fraud. Like, we don't know how much fraud is in Department of Defense. This whole program that went out at the beginning of this current administration, they purposely didn't focus on the number one funded thing that we do. They didn't focus on DoD, not one thing. Why not? Why wouldn't you think that they focus on a $550 million agency when you're talking about a $990 billion agency? I mean, if you really want to save money, and I'm not talking about going there and making sure that privates are using plastic toothbrushes instead of throwaway ones. I mean, stop that bullshit. I'm talking
Is that
about,
happening?
just usually when they do stuff like that, they focus at the lowest end and they talk about, you get butter with your mashed potatoes. You should be using fake
Oh
butter,
yeah, they
and
always
like,
take it away from like a sense of humility
they always
standpoint
look
or
down to
something
the
like
small
that.
people, and
Yeah.
then you feel bad because you're shitting on the guy that's got nothing, and it's like,
It's never the
no,
giant
we
airplane
need to
things.
look at the payments that have gone to Lockheed, and the payments that have gone to General Dynamics, and the payments that have gone to the big four, and what are we getting for that? You know, because it seems like one thing we're getting incredibly wealthy CEOs of those companies, and the shareholders are making a lot of money. I mean,
And who are the
what's
shareholders?
well, the
Politicians.
shareholder, well, politicians, but there's also all of us, not all of us. There's what, the top 20% of people in the US put money into the 401ks and stock market and stuff like that.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and that's it. If you put money in Vanguard, and you do it in a general fund, you're gonna own a piece of
Well, the
life.
reason why I
You're gonna
say
own.
politicians too is you see this as a bipartisan issue that, like, time and time
Yeah,
again,
across.
public servants that cap out at like what,
Well,
like 250, 150, something like that, are
yeah. Well,
worth $400 million.
yeah,
Like what? Like
yeah,
how is that
because
even that? In
yeah.
China, these people would be killed, and they
Well,
should
there's
be.
there's
It's
there's
crazy.
bills in front of Congress, which I would like to see that if there was a way we could push legislation through uh, that was good for the people, that just something simple, that rules that apply to the public apply to Congress, and just you would
Well, I don't think we're
you
ever
know
going back to taking care of people ever again. I, I
yeah.
mean, I don't really. It
Well,
doesn't
well,
really
see,
seem
see,
like
if
that.
we continue on this road, I see us doing exactly what Russia did in the 80s. I see us running out of money. I see no longer is the US dollar the world currency. I see that the lack of regulation and deregulation in the on all the different exchanges. You know why more stock is traded on our exchanges than anywhere else? It's because it's trusted. And when you start taking away disclosure requirements, you allow shitty people in to steal. And everybody steals in these markets, and there's all sorts, but nothing compared to what's stolen in other markets. And that's, you know, uh, 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 regulatory rules and regulations on how you report what you make and how you make it are incredibly important. And I think that those are some of the things that keep the U.S. strong, and that's what keeps us one of the strongest, financially strong countries in the world. Which we seem to be throwing that away at a record pace now. You know, and it's just we owe so many people so much money, and we're living in like 2035 right now, and we're not there, and we're going well behind that. I mean, how in the world could you look at a straight face and say that what was it 10 years ago the military budget was 600 billion, and today 2016 it was 600 billion, and in 2026 it was a trillion. 400 and like 40 400 billion. So almost 100% increase. And in 2016 to now, do you feel safer?
No,
I don't. I don't. I
couldn't tell
don't.
you.
Don't care. I don't feel any safer. I feel less safe, and I feel that we're less financially stable. The stronger we are, the stronger we are financially, and the stronger we are as a country, the better infrastructure we have, the better our country's going to be. And I think that we've watched this stuff get tapped out and sucked out, and we're listening to these people that will say whatever gets them elected. We hear this over and over, and it's like, and the same thing, and I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of this. I have voted many, many, many times for absolute pieces of shit. But you know what? It was never for them. It was against the other person or persons that I thought were more pieces of shit, you know. And that still stands. I'm running into that over and over and over again, where I see and I'm like, my God, you know. And that's I it worries me about our country. It worries me about the inability to keep up with China and infrastructure. They have surpassed us like tenfold. And anytime someone talks about a high-speed train, all people do is they bitch about California or Chicago, and they talk about what went wrong.
Well, you know
Well,
what's so
well,
funny is
why
that
don't you just come in and make it right? Look at the you look at case in point, Boston, the big dig. People talked about that. Said it was supposed to be like 10 billion or 5 billion or 20. I don't remember what the number was. But the the big dig was underneath. It brought the airport into the city. You didn't have to go over the bridge, and it connected all sorts of parts of the city. Well, the amount of commerce that happened uh, was triple what they expected. So they ended up getting like $10 for every overly inflated dollar that they put into that project back. And you're like, well, why are we not doing things like that? Like, you connect San Francisco to LA at a high speed train. You connect uh, uh, DC to New York. You connect the world. By connecting, we will be a closer country. If you could go to Chicago in 3 hours, we would go there. If I could go visit you in 6 hours, I would do that. I would do it on a weekend. I would say, "Hey, I'm coming out. I got a train. We're going to do lunch on Sunday, and we're coming back." And it'd be like, it totally changes the way that you feel all of a sudden. And the idea that we're big, shut up. China's big.
Well,
Okay.
the whole thing
Stop,
too is
stop,
that
stop letting people sell you that.
98% of people in China own their own homes. And I had this kind of discussion with somebody that I know the other day. Well, like they said, "Well, have you seen those houses?" I'm like, "So it's better to sleep outside?" So it's better to sleep
Yeah.
outside and then have to pay a mortgage for the rest of your fucking life? I didn't
Right.
realize. And then they're like, "Well, they actually don't own them." I'm like, "It's an 88-year land lease." I mean, yeah, they basically
Yeah.
own their
They own them
property.
till they're dead. Yeah.
Stop. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
London does a lot of that
it's
too.
semantics. You're
Yeah.
basically picking apart semantics when it's better to sleep outside and die from a garnished wage from healthcare, you
Right.
know? Like I don't
Right.
understand that. I don't get that. I don't get these borderline childish defenses towards
We
these things.
and I think over and over when you keep running at this, it's we can do better. And right now, I mean, where I am, I think the center of everything is defense. It is something that gets smoothed over. Every single person, you want to protect America. You hate the troops. All the things that people say when you start to question the budget. Whether or not we spend 4.5 billion on tomahawks or not will make no difference to the troops. Okay, sorry, won't make any difference. Nope. Because if we spent $998 billion last year, what did we get for that? Didn't we didn't get enough ships and boats and planes. We have a shrunken force, so it isn't like we were paying the money. We don't. The oversight is this. Where was all of it going? It was going to technology. Okay, technology for what? Protecting us? I don't know. I mean, because they haven't passed an audit. I would these huge programs that come out of there that reward all the states by giving people jobs, the military jobs. Hey, it's jobs. Well, so is building a bridge. So is building a high-speed train. And that doesn't kill anybody. And it also makes our country stronger. And I think that we need to look for better ways to make our country stronger than being bullies, the bully on the block. Because right now we're the bully on the block. And in the past, we had the power, or we thought we had the power to be the bully on the block, but we weren't. And now we are. When we go into another country and we take the leader and remove them, like we did in Nicaragua, like we did in Venezuela, or the country is doing that. Nobody is,
There was this
you know?
comedian that did a bit about how he grew up really poor, and he was
Yeah.
talking about how he wanted to join the military, but then he couldn't really come to terms with being homeless after. And I thought that that was just the cherry on top. He's like, "Well, I really want to join the
Whoa.
military, but I didn't want to be homeless after." And I think that
I
that is it's very interesting. I mean, what have we
Unless you're willing to
passed
stay,
since the GI Bill? I mean, like really, I don't
unless you're
know.
willing to stay for a long time,
Yeah,
it's crazy. We don't and if you get hurt, you're in trouble. Veterans are well, financially we don't take care of them, you know. You
I've heard
you would see
horror
it.
stories about the VA as well. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And
The
they're
amount
I
of
mean,
waiting.
we're getting better. We're getting better,
I mean, we
but
should be.
it's
That's
like
how
you
time works, you know? Like,
right.
we should be getting
Well,
better.
no, not always. We get worse and then we get better and then we
Yeah.
get worse when we focus on it's like every issue that America has. We truly focused our financial effort and our willpower and our brain power. We can do a lot of things, but it's like let's make, when I hear let's make America great again, well, wouldn't, you know, a fully connected country be great? I think that to me would be amazing. And irrespective of airlines, it would cut fuel costs. It would do all sorts of things that it would create huge new commerce pools because people could transport when they came to the US, they could go all over it instead of just staying in DC or just staying in New York or just staying in Miami. Oh, I go to Miami and I go there and then I got to go home because you can't, I can't go to DC because it's a 24-hour ride on a train.
No, exactly. And it's three
You
times
know,
more expensive too, which makes
yeah,
no
and you're
sense.
just like, what
Somebody
the
did
hell?
I watched a video about the train from DC to Miami
Yeah,
and how it was 24 hours. I think it was $2,500 for a
I took that.
for a
I took that.
sleeper.
I took
For
that
a
train.
sleeper, yeah. You did. How was
Yeah,
it?
I didn't do the sleeper one. I did the cheapest one I could do on the way back, and it was a
That
couple
was the
$100.
sleeper. Yeah, it was
And no,
about
no,
like
it wasn't a sleeper. We
1,500
didn't.
or 2,000, yeah.
It was a seat on the train
Oh.
from Jacksonville to DC, and I
When
think
did you
it
do that?
cost 1981.
Oh,
I had
wow.
Me and a buddy had gone out, and we had a week off, spring break. We were working concrete. We said, "Hey, we want to take a week off," and no, you shouldn't. It's like, well, we want to do it anyway. So we went. We took a week off. We hopped on a train. No, we went out to the Springfield. No, not Springfield. We went out to what the heck was it? Aquan Exit. We walked down and we stuck our thumbs out and started hitchhiking. And this is two guys that, he's 6'2", 6'3". I'm nearly six. We got bedrolls and backpacks on, carrying our stuff. I'm wearing a top hat. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I got a 2-gallon jug of vodka and bitter lemon. And we got a ride in about an hour. And that ride took us to Boca Raton. I mean, amazing. It was in a old Cadillac, and the guy was taking the car down for his brother, and we saved him a night in Georgia by continuing to drive because he trusted us, and we drank the whole way. And back in the good old days,
Do you think it was the
uh,
late 80s serial killers that changed that whole hitchking thing? Do you
I
think that
think there's
that's what it
still
was?
serial killers, and I just think that was easier. And it's so now, if I was to be, how would I mean? What all you have to do is you start thinking about if you're a pedo or you're a serial killer or whatever. You just go,
Yeah.
what would you do? How would you do it today? I'd be, man, can you imagine a serial killer that was a evangelical priest? Wow, that would
Devil
be
All the
kind of
Time. That's a movie.
really.
Yeah. I think he was a serial
Oh,
killer.
well, if they were killing
Yeah.
bad people, and then it becomes subjective because people say, well, he killed that person and they knew. And well, not really. They were pretty sure that he did something wrong. So, you know, yeah, we just look at that and go. And I think, like, back to, we came in this, we were talking about wartime, the war machine, the money, and we need more oversight. We need to push for oversight. And I don't know how anybody, and less interaction from non-registered PACs. We have foreign PACs that are not registered. We have all sorts of things that are just really un-American. You know, that are driving the way our trillions of dollars are spent every year. We have a big GDP. We are spending a ton of it, and it's not for the benefit of the people. It's for the benefit of extraneous people, you know, other countries, and it's not for us. And we need to come back and say, I mean, if you're really thinking America first, attacking Iran is not America first. Attacking Venezuela isn't America first. Okay,
What was
America.
the whole Venezuela thing with Maduro? I didn't understand that.
I thought
It was very odd.
we would argue a diversion. You know,
I
I
mean,
mean,
over the
I don't.
files, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, they were saying drugs and all this, but if he doesn't get convicted in a court of law, it's really going to be bad
I don't think
because
he will
you
either
know
because it's crazy.
it
Well,
it
that was
doesn't.
the. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right. And also, they left the whole second tier in. They just took out the head guy. So it was very just like a military exercise. And we were blowing up boats in Venezuela, and Venezuela is not the drug exporter. It's always
That's
been
what I
Colombia.
thought. Yeah, that didn't make
So
any
it's very
sense.
weird that
Yeah.
I think, and when you look at it, Venezuela was collapsing. Venezuela has a ton of oil, ton
Oh, I
of
forgot about that.
oil.
Yeah.
Now we have control over that oil because we took the top guy. So if you really want to look at it from a strategic point of view, that is a good thing. Okay. But
Well,
that's an
he.
aggressive tactic that you would. But the thing is, the people that are profiting off of that are not U.S. citizens. It's not. It's not helping us. It's helping companies.
Do you think
You
he'll
know.
ever see a court of law anyway? Do you really think
Who?
that he'll see trial?
No, no. He's already tried. He's
Oh,
already being
really?
tried. He's
Oh, no
being
way.
tried as we speak. Yeah,
I'm surprised.
absolutely.
That's kind
And
of surprising to me.
there's a whole lot of problems with, well, the DOJ has kicked out all the really brilliant people, so they got people that know how to talk in sound bites but don't know how to follow the fucking law, you know.
Mm.
So it's kind of sad. But we look at this and it's like, when you think about it, it's it's I think that when my parents died, and from my generation, when the thing was passed to us, I wasn't worried. I didn't feel like, they kind of, I felt like they fucked up racism. They kind of fucked up the Vietnam War. They hated gay people too much, or not enough. I don't know. There was the things from the past generation that I disagree with. The color was the huge, probably the biggest thing I see, but that's, everybody has their own thing. But they were all things internal and things that, through fairness and legislation, we could protect people and we could change the way people see things. Because I think that a lot of times, you see that when you do that internally, that you can make people understand other people's situations and they can become better people. And I think that that's something that we started to do, but I think that we have forgotten the the generation. We forgot the next round of people. We thought you're just going to do the same thing we did when we got out of high school. You're going to go and get a college degree. You're going to get out. You're going to get a good job, and then you're going to make money. And it's like, well, society has changed. You know, in the 30s, a college degree was printed money. And it probably was up until the 50s, and then it started to waver, and it wavered more. I guess in the 30s is high school. Finish high school, and on and on. And those that went on to Ivy League schools or schools and then school became this megalopolis. I don't know what the hell it is. It's this huge thing of offering to continue your education on any topic whatsoever, whether it benefits, as long as it benefits them personally, financially. I mean, the goal of institutions, I don't think, is to educate people anymore. I think it's to uh, drive themselves financially.
Completely
And you could
agree.
see this, yeah, and you could see this when you saw people bowing down when they said, "We're going to take away your federal funds," and it's like, okay, we'll kiss your ass. And you're like, well, but that's not what you teach people. You teach people to stand up for their rights. You teach people to fight. Yet you Ivy Leaguers and you large law people and you big company people, you run like scared rabbits, and it's sad. It's just really sad to see that, fear has gotten to a level of just silliness,
I'm
in the
really
US.
wondering when the class warfare is going to start happening. I'm really wondering, but I don't know because you know what? I was actually talking with mom about this today.
Yeah,
That court jesters back then used to exist in a one plane of media, which was television. And
right.
now court jesters today exist in your phone, in your hand, 24 hours a day. and you can constantly become distracted of something different. And
On
yet you
purpose.
exactly. And that is why I think that we won't see an uprising for another 5 to 8 years, is because you have such stringent or intrinsic amounts of distractions all on your phone every single day, not to mention the advertisements, one, to
Mhm.
draw people against each other.
Well,
And it's crazy.
can you see that you could make people think a particular way? I mean, if you controlled Facebook,
That was showed in 2016. Remember that?
yeah, and you wanted to get people to support or like something, and you could post millions of photos or things or memes or whatever in front of every single a billion people, you can get them to think something. Every large platform has that, and they have that ability. And there's no problem to lie. You know, it's not, it's okay to lie and lie, just brutally lie, just made up shit. The roof of this, you see it as white, but you're wrong. It's actually, it's blue. And just lie,
Well, it's
and it's
weird too
okay.
because the idea of an opinion now is seen as truth. It's seen as truth
Right.
telling.
Right.
And the
I
whole
guess that's a,
thing, when especially, I'll just go back and say what I was saying before about the 98% of Chinese own their own homes and this, that, or the other. And I'm like, well, then it's better than sleeping outside. He's like, well, you can think that. And I'm like, what? Like, what? I don't understand. No, no, I'm right. Like, I'm correct. Like, I'm correct in
and
saying
yeah,
that owning your own home is better than sleeping outside. Well, the home is small, but it's not outside. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like it's ridiculous.
they won't change.
There's
Doesn't
no
matter.
admitting that you're wrong anymore. It's
Right. You
just it's
can't,
crazy. It's insane.
whatever happened to being, see, I always, do I always spin them wrong? Probably not, but
Oh, I
many times I
definitely
do. I
have a
feel like
hard
I learn a
time doing
lot
it,
from that.
but yeah.
And I feel I learn more and I get closer to people when I agree with them
Hmm.
when I'm wrong. But
Exactly.
when people argue with me, like, I remember under to go into politics, the Trump administration and the Obama administration, when I had an argument with a guy about the stock exchange, the stock market, and I said it went up dramatically higher under uh, Obama than it did under Trump. I mean, each 4 year section total more percentage wise in the first administration, much more. And no, it didn't. And I'm like, yes, you can look at the Dow Jones, you can count the points, you can look at the percentage, you can do this here. This is an equation. Yeah, okay. It's not opinion, it's not me, you know. And he's like, well, we'll just agree to disagree. And I'm like, no, you're fucking wrong. And it's like,
Yeah,
and it didn't matter. It didn't matter what he said, did not
doesn't
matter.
matter.
He just looked at me and goes like, okay, if you want to think that way. And I'm like, but but it so and I would ask people, because I've asked people this and they're like, so when is two more than four?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
And you're like,
It's because we, as Americans, we've let our egos become too inflated, and
yeah.
it really, and
Well, we
and
align ourselves with people, and it's do or die no matter what, because they did one thing that I like, or
yeah,
I'm wedded to them because of this or that or the other. So I forego all the other stuff. It's like people saying, and I've heard it over and over. I don't care how much he steals. He's doing what I want him to do. And you're like, you didn't want him to have a war, and now we're in a war. So,
and then now you're
you
defending the
know,
war. So
yeah. And now they're defending the war,
yeah,
and it's
well,
like,
no,
and
it's
now we
funny.
have dead Americans. We have dead Americans and wounded Americans, and that for
And
four
people
years. I
hated
mean,
when Joe Biden took the Americans out of
out of a
yeah, out of a war,
war, and
ending a
19 people died.
ending a 20
You
year
know,
war. You remember that? I remember
yeah,
that. Crazy.
yep. Trump didn't take them out. He organized the surrender. He let 2,000 ISIS people out. Those people that he let out, actually, one of them is the head of Afghanistan, which is kind of funny, you know. He was a nice leader. He was in a prison. We had him. He gave the prison to Russia, but that's another story, another
Another
day.
story for another time. I think we're
Yeah,
at time.
oh, we're at about 45 minutes, so we
45
could.
minutes.
I think about like let's talk about money. They
Yeah.
talk about wanting a $1.5 trillion budget that would nearly be 3x what it was 10 years ago. 1.5 trillion, and we don't know where it's going to go. We don't know who's going to get paid. We know that Congress people are going to get a lot of money because they're going to donate money to them, and somehow they can. I don't know how they do it. I'm sure that at the end of a campaign they can keep their money. There's all sorts of. They use the campaign money to move all over. Their family lives in the campaign money headquarters and all this other shit. Which there are ethical people. There are. But
Where are they
it's
though? You know,
well, I think it's
we don't hear about
wouldn't
them. But
wouldn't
you
it be
don't really
interesting?
hear about good things, do you?
Well, yeah, because people want to do work, and then people want to make the country better, and the way to do that is not to go on uh, uh MSN and Facebook and all these places and bitch and moan about somebody saying wearing you know wearing Charlie Kirk face or whatever the fuck it is, or wearing
Oh,
or
you
any of
see
that
that? The
stuff.
bullet. The bullet is
Yeah,
not what is it? The same as
doesn't
the one in
match.
the weapon. Crazy, doesn't
Wow.
match.
But we don't care.
Surprise, surprise,
We don't care.
surprise,
Doesn't matter.
surprise. Another distraction.
Yeah, well, hopefully
Uh,
that happens with Luigi too. But
yeah, that
jailbreak,
was fun.
jailbreak,
I remember.
jailbreak.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. That was
I expected him to kill him in the prison.
kill who?
Luigi, Luigi,
Oh, I'm surprised that he's still alive.
because he's like
That makes no sense.
he's got to scare the living hell out of everybody. When you after that happened, you the amount of security that went into corporate
Y-
America was just, and it's still like it's uber
Yeah.
nuts. And I just saw the other day Oracle whack 30,000 people after they had the greatest earnings season they've ever had, and okay,
Yeah.
and 30,000, okay, and it was
Crazy.
it was like a Monday morning 6 a.m. email. Hey, Zach, you've done a wonderful job, but get the fuck out. All your shit's cut off. You can't have anything. Return it all to Billy Bob. We'll give you severance of $8. But if you don't sign this agreement that says you're only going to do what we're going to do, you're not going to get any severance, and we're going to come after you. And you're like, and
God.
by the way, Zach worked here 35 years.
That's the cherry on top.
Yeah. So they're and because of that, there are literally hundreds of death threats to the Ellisons, and that's one of the reasons. But you're like, whoa. So we were talking earlier about this continued push towards war and hate and all that kind of stuff like that, and bullying people, and every email you see come out of the White House is uh, there's a lot of hate in every single email. It's coming from the top, and it's about, I hate these people. Here's why, but these people are wonderful, and I'm going to make it better when I get rid of these people. And you're like, well, that's bad. That's just, it's really amped that up. And I think that, you know, that's going to grow. And as that grows from our level, we're going to see more and more people take pot shots at these people, you know, and they're going to be successful occasionally. And,
Hence the class warfare that I was talking about, you know?
right. And then we're going to have to pay more tax dollars to protect the people that are fucking us, sadly.
Yeah.
I won't, well, because we're rich. So only poor people will. So have at it. It's just, at some point you're just like, why are you punching yourself in the face? You done? You done? Here, give me another tax break. Thanks. My gosh, it's ludicrous what people will put up with where things are doing and how. Because when you look at people about, we'll talk about the tax situation some other time, but it's like, and because that money, that 1.5 trillion, which we don't have, which we didn't collect because we had a huge tax break. I did, thank you, and the huge amount that's not
Yeah.
being taken care of is added to the debt, and we have to pay interest on the debt, and it's growing faster than it's ever grown before. And there's something called there's a number that we will get to where we will never be able to service it. And that is when we might have to refinance our debt. If we have to refinance our debt, everybody that owns a T bill will be going, oh my God, you're going to get 50 cents on the dollar. Oh my God. You know, then all of a sudden we're third world. We're Mexico. We're, we're Brazil. We're Venezuela. We're Argentina. All those countries did that. Uh, we're Greece. We are pushing ourselves. I mean, Russia, I don't know institutionally people that invest there because they just grab your assets if they want. So, and here, who knows? When is that coming? When they start? I mean, we're already taking public company positions, you know, which is very, very weird. But I mean, all that being said, we really need to focus on reducing the military budget or having full and fair accountability and a reduction. I don't understand why we in the US spend a billion, no, 15 times the next country. Why we need to spend more on that than we do on feeding kids. Uh, and you have to ask yourself, do you feel safer today than you did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever? And I don't know how you can have a gauge for that.
Well, there's no money in feeding kids. You have to understand that, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the whole
there
is there?
is. Yes, there is. There's a longer term thing that when you take care of your population, they produce more, they add more to the GDP, they make the economy better, they spend money because they
But that
make
isn't as
money.
quick as starting a
Bingo.
war, you know.
No,
It's
it's a
not as
long term
quick.
thing, and you're not going to be in
Exactly.
office, and you're going to be dead. So it doesn't matter to you. And it's
The
little
people
Billy
that vote in this
Bojangles,
country too, being in
yeah,
the older demographic, don't really
right.
care.
Well,
I
we're on this
mean,
4 year cycle of hell where we go from
we spend the first 4 years trying to get the next 4 years, you know, and it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah,
That's what it's all
just no,
about.
just not good, not good at
That's
all.
the only thing that
Uh,
they focus
we
on.
need to we need to we need to rein in the military budget. We need to figure out where it's all going. We need a clear audit that we will not give them dimes until they do that.
There's no
If
repercussions too for failing an audit either, which seems
well, that's what
kind of
bothers
cool.
me
Makes
is
no
that
sense. How are
and
you
I
going to
saw
find
this.
my $200,
Okay,
but then you're going to not find $2 trillion? I don't. I don't
let's
get.
roll it in.
I
Let's
don't
roll it
get
in
that.
for those that were successful and those that weren't. We we fought Afghanistan for 20 years, and we were told thousands of things over the course of those years. And at the end, we left, and we really didn't change anything. We, I think, are the same people in power. No, maybe a different group of people are in power, and they're okay here and there. But now we're financially supporting them again, and but we lost that war, and then we did the same thing in Iraq, you know, and and then we withdrew the people. And you can say it's Biden's withdrawal, and it was Trump made him do it at that time, whatever you want to say for the big guys. But in reality, I do not think, and I do not believe that Biden said, this is the plan that you have to do to withdraw the troops. I believe that the generals came together and said, the best way for us to do this, to close this, do this, do this, do this, and this is how we're going to exit. And he goes, well, you're the fucking generals. You should know. Okay, bye. He signs off. He eats the shit sandwich. Nobody was fired. Nobody. I mean, I'd have been like, Zach, fuck you. You're gone. You fucked up. I would have held fucking the top layer of management that handed me that plan. Well, you can't. What do you mean? People died because what you told me was right, and I trusted you, and yet he lily paddled. It's all my responsibility. No, of course it was your responsibility, but it's also your responsibility to make sure it doesn't fucking happen again. And you didn't do anything to show anybody anything about accountability. And that was really, really, really weak.
That is a word that we have none of anymore is accountability.
Yeah.
We're
And I
really
see
out
this
of that.
everywhere. You see it,
You see
you
even
see
in
it.
the normal population. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. When you do something wrong, you should be held accountable. When
Well, and
and
then
when
it's
you're,
the person's fault for believing in them too. It's like, well, why'd you believe me then? And then what? Like it's crazy. Why'd you trust me?
then I need to,
And I'm like, what? That's insane.
yeah. What is it? Who said that? You fucked up. You trusted us. Remember that? That was Animal House.
Oh yeah.
Why'd you let me in your car? Well, you fucked up. You trusted us.
There you go. That's pretty much the
Flounder.
entire situation
Yeah, that's what we're
of
at right
this
now.
this
We're
country
trusting
right
the
now.
military with another 500 and almost $600 billion, and
Oh,
we
nice.
don't give a shit what they spend it on. We don't care. They'll tell us whatever they want to tell us, and we'll be okay with that. And I think that's a good way to end it because we need to create a little bit of angst. And now people are going to say, "Oh, you're against the you're against the army guy," and then they're going to show me the enlisted guy, and I'm going like, "Fuck off!" Anytime someone says that you're against a military budget, that they automatically point it down to the line guy that got crippled and was fighting in the war, and you can be against an organization without beginning against the people that work for it. Okay, kind of like uh, uh, Israel. You know, it's not the people, it's the organization. But if the people are letting the organization happen, they need to be held accountable too. And we have a lot of people in the military that are allowing this to happen. Sad, very sad.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. So what do you got to say?
Um, I think we're ready to wrap up. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening. As always, check out the shorts. What are we getting, like 2 to 3 times a day now?
Yeah. We're
This was a
posting on YouTube
topic
a
that
lot.
you were hot on, and I love it. I love hearing
Yeah.
your dialogue on it
I'm heading to
because
South America, man.
it's interesting. It's interesting to see somebody who's watched multiple presidents go through,
Yeah.
and where we are
Strange.
today. I don't know what it would have been like if JFK was never assassinated. But here we are. All right.
Yeah.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Party on. Bye.